Hi, this is Felipe. I'll be on Zoom and not in person.
Good evening, everybody. We're good. Oh, echoey. We're going to call this meeting, this November 9th meeting of the Las Vegas Clark County Library District Board of Trustees to order at 5:01 p.m. If you would call the roll, please.
Chair Wah,
Present.
Trustee Rogers,
Present.
Trustee Haran, Trustee Whiteley,
Present.
Trustee Foyt,
Present.
Trustee Ortiz,
Present.
Trustee Benavidez,
Here.
Trustee Sanchez,
Here.
Trustee Dukowski,
Here.
Trustee Shelton.
And please mark Trustee Haran as absent excused.
Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this moving to agenda item number 2. This is the first section set aside for public comment. Do we have anyone who has signed up for public comment?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room who didn't sign up who has public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Agenda item number 3, board action to accept proposed agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, approval of proposed minutes for the Finance and Audit September 7th meeting and the regular board meeting on October 12th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Rogers, second by Trustee Benavides. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Agenda item number 5, Chair's report. I just have a couple things that I wrote down. First, I'd like to say Happy Veterans Day, specifically to Vice Chair Rogers and Executive Director Watson for their service and continued service, as well as to all library staff members who have served in the armed forces. Number 2, for those of you who weren't able to join us on Tuesday, Council Welt was honored by Clark County, and I have it in my car because he's not here, but the city of Las Vegas is November 7th in the city of Las Vegas and Clark County is Gerald Welt Day to honor his 47 years of service to the Clark County Library District and Las Vegas Clark County Library District. So congratulations to Jerry for that. And we'll see if we can do a reopener to make that a official library holiday. So everyone gets the day off except for Jerry. Anyway, so agenda number 3. So just to, I know I shared with all the trustees, I had the opportunity to go to the NAACP banquet, which honored Executive Director Watson, and just the love in the room for the district and what everyone in the district is doing for the community and his leadership specifically was just really great. So it was great to be able to witness that and participate in that. Number 4 that I have, so the executive committee, as everyone is aware, we met to discuss what a new evaluation process, timeline, and form would look like. So executive committee met on the 1st, and we'll be bringing our recommendations to the full board for consideration to be implemented for the 25 performance year beginning in July. Number 5, just a note on meeting decorum. Please make sure that we're waiting to be recognized. It makes it difficult to do the minutes if folks are kind of jumping in. And I know when we get in the kind of the heat of the moment and we're talking about, we're having a really good discussion. It's just kind of difficult to kind of delineate all those voices to make sure that we're doing the minutes. So if we can just make sure that we're just all waiting to be recognized, so that we're ensuring that one person is speaking at a time. And then finally, for now, please, if you know ahead of time, trustees, that you're not able to make it, please let Miss Nance know, just so that way we can handle the seating and the food and everything like that. And that's it. And then also after this meeting, we'll be sending out a because I have it right here. So the January meeting, which was originally going to be on the 18th, we are moving it to the 11th due to the holiday. And then the May meeting, we're moving from May 9th to the following week, May 16th, due to the requirements under NRS for approving the budget or having the public hearing for the budget. So we'll be making those adjustments to the board calendar. Right, the 16th is good, or do you need it later than that? Is that a Thursday? Okay. Sorry, it'll be May 24th. May 23rd. It'll be May 23rd. So we can have our public hearing on the budget for the year. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm probably not. What was that? Oh yes. So that's my report. I'm happy to answer any questions on my report. But I'll open it up to trustees who have any thoughts, and we'll begin with trustee Foyt.
I am proposing, with regard to the new West Las Vegas Library, that the library itself be enhanced by the naming of a reading room in the memory of the late Harvey Mumford. He was a notable member of the West Las Vegas community. He served as an exemplary educator and was a legislative leader. In naming the reading room in his honor, we are acknowledging his legacy and his work on behalf of all community residents.
Thank you, trustee Foyt. We'll make sure that that is on a future agenda
Thank you.
for the board to consider. Are there any other trustees who have any thoughts to share at this time? Fantastic. So we'll close the chair's report. Then we'll move on to agenda item number 6, library reports. As you see, Executive Director Watson is not here, but Mr. Cabayas is, and I believe he wants to highlight some things.
It always amazes me how much the executive director accomplishes in 1 month, but I did want to make a few comments on his behalf. Chair Waugh mentioned the NAACP banquet and how Mr. Watson was an honoree there. I also wanted to thank or congratulate Director Watson on behalf of all library staff. You know, we're all very proud of him too. One of his many talents is his leadership and team building. And when you're trying to address the digital divide, it's helpful to have a talented chief information officer. And the library district's CIO, Al Prendergast, was recently nominated for the 2023 Top Tech Award. I see Director Prendergast is not here. He must be at Allegiant Stadium right now finding out if he's going to win. We all know he deserves it. So yeah, congratulations again to Al. I wanted to cover one more topic, and that's with respect to the New Markets Tax Credit Program. During the Finance and Audit Committee meeting on Monday, I gave the committee an update on the New Markets Program. And in a nutshell, the program is going well and very quickly. So quickly that since Monday, I received word that one of the community development entities, which is our investors, one CDE, as we call them, made a verbal commitment of about $1.5 million in costs or funding that'll offset the costs of construction of the new West Las Vegas Library. And we're just getting started. I wanted to thank the administrative team for all the work that they've been doing in keeping the ball rolling. They've been gathering a lot of data that these investors need to make a decision on where they'll be investing their funds. And of the administrative team, I especially want to recognize General Services Director John Vino. Not only is he building this new library, but he's taking time to help raise millions of dollars worth of funding. So he's paying for it too. So Mr. Vino and I also welcomed 2 of the CDEs about a month ago. We took them on a tour of the West Las Vegas site, as well as the East Las Vegas Library. The East Las Vegas Library was built using New Markets funding. And so it's the perfect flagship to show off to these investors exactly what our library does for its community, the positive impact that it has. And here, who took a lead in that tour was the library's multimedia supervisor, Alex Acosta de Leon. He knows that library inside and out, from the DJ studio to the event center and all the programming in between. And because of his knowledge and the fantastic tour that he gave, the investors walked away from that tour even more enthusiastic about supporting the West Las Vegas Library project. So again, I just wanted to thank all of the directors along with staff at the East Las Vegas Library for making my job a lot easier. That's all I had, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cabayas. Are there any reports that trustees would like to pull at this time? I would like to, you don't have to come up, Leo, but I do want to just acknowledge I had the opportunity to go to the Nevada State Conference to End Youth Homelessness yesterday. And it was great seeing so many youth services staff and other staff from library operations be there to just kind of learn and discuss ways that the library can fill those needs in the community to help unhoused youth, particularly as a safe place in our community. And included in the reports also is a report on the jail libraries that we're doing. I hope everyone's had a chance to look at that, especially the kind of notes of appreciation. At some point, I'm going to ask Director Segura for a tour of the jail library. So if anyone's interested in joining me, please let me know, and we can make a day of it. And I do want to ask Director McNally up really quick, just to ask you a couple questions.
Good evening, Chair Waugh, Board of Trustees, Council Walt, CFO Cabayas, Matt McNally for the record, Community Engagement Director.
Thank you, Matt. It's good to see you in one piece and back up and around. So it's good. Thank you for being here. So I was really excited to see kind of the Jackson Street Parade as part of that kind of thing. And I was just curious, is this kind of parade outreach piece, is that kind of a permanent thing? Are we going to be at like MLK, Eldorado, Pride, those sorts of things? Or how do we determine kind of how that's deployed?
Gotcha. I think you're referring to the Historic West Side celebration.
Yeah.
So the library district was part of an effort. It was a joint effort between library operations and community engagement to see ourselves represented within that community. When it was brought forward to us, we thought, okay, it would be great if the library branch staff within the community could participate. And then the community engagement staff, we provided information at an outreach booth at that event to help promote library services. So any type of big opportunity that we have, that's always something that's on our radar. Obviously, future commitments are dependent on whether, for a variety of, considerations such as staffing, ability. Sometimes it's difficult on a lot of the holidays because as a library district, we're closed. And so it's hard for us to then get staff that are available to get to those events. But it is something that's on our radar. It's something that we find great value in and being able to help support those communities when we can.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. McNally.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions for Mr. McNally while we have him up? No. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And then Mr. Vino, if you want to come on up, I understand you have a little film for us.
John Vino, General Services Director. Good evening, everyone. At the last board meeting, Dr. Rogers asked us to put together some information to bring the board as well as our new board members up to speed on the new West Las Vegas project. So we'll be talking about it a lot and seeing a lot of it over the next couple of years. So we have a little movie that we've been working on. It'll be part of the groundbreaking. You guys have seen it during schematic design. So we just wanted to show you what it looks like now with all the changes and upgrades and kind of really the final look of the library, as we move in. We are into the city for our permit process. So we are on schedule to just keep rolling through at this point, with the groundbreaking, everybody December 11th. So we'll just give you an idea of what the new library is actually going to look like now. Hopefully. So this is the look of the library looking from Martin Luther King. One of the things we had to do, we had to bring up the screen a little bit due to the elevation of Martin Luther King. This is an elevation, just a little night view of what it'll look like at night and what the LED screen, the impact the LED screen will have on the property. How dark is it? This is a view from the southeast view. As you can, we had to add, you could see the landscaping that we added in the view. You can see the partnering space is visible off to the right as you get ready to enter the space. Again, the LED screen, just the biggest visual impact the library will have and our ability to advertise and run programming on that screen. This is the view from the north side, the entrance to the multipurpose room, and also the entrance to the lobby from the main parking lot, a drive-through, our book drops, private drive. And as you enter this space, you can start seeing the colors and the carpet colors. This is the boardroom for our business incubation program that we're going to have on the space. The seating areas, the feel for the low bookshelves and the coloring that we'll have. This will be here's our main customer service as you walk into this space, our history wall, which will document the history of the West Side. We went through a lot of different looks. This is the multi-purpose room, especially designed to give the feel of the theater that we're leaving at West Vegas. And again, the feel for the lobby as you walk in, a grand lobby with a media center where we can highlight different things going on in the neighborhood. You walk into the main feel of the library with our multimedia center directly ahead. Again, this is a quiet area where people can sit next to the windows, plenty of patron seating and power. Again, we use dynamic colors. This is one of the creation labs, our main creation lab, with that feel we're looking for. This is looking back towards the kids area as you walk in. Special, we paid a lot of attention to the kids area. This particular one, we wanted to make it light and make it feel like a kids area. We wound up with that theme. I am taking votes on the cactus and the YPL. It's about 50-50. I'm not sold on it, but anybody has any comments, I'm open. We're working through that and what that really should be. That's just vinyl and that could change, but that's a tween area, our first tween area for kids. This is the computer area for adults up on the second floor, 40 computers. And again, just the view as you come in, the main view of the library, that most people will see. I think that's going to wrap it up. So I did send some information packets out. I hope you guys got them, just kind of little synopsis of everything that we've done over the last 10 months here to get ready for this. So I do have an agenda item for your approval, hopefully in a little while. So I'll be back up, but anybody have any questions on it? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Are there any
Just
questions?
a quick question, just by looking at the video. I know at East Las Vegas, we have not very much, but we do have some outdoor seating. Do we have?
Yeah, we're still working on this, but there is actually a very large outdoor corridor in the back part of the space, which is included, and we'll have that front porch. It doesn't show the seating, but there's seating underneath the front porch, as they call it, in the front as well. So yeah, lots of outside seating.
Trustee Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, through you, John, a couple questions. In there, I know the economy's fluctuating. What is the estimated square foot cost that we have now that your architectural drawings are in? I know it can change. It's probably going to go up, but
It's 41,000 square feet, a little under 41,000 square feet by $35 million currently is the current estimate. So
okay.
I could run that real quick. I didn't do it before the meeting. I'm sorry.
Right.
But that's where we've been for where we're going to stay at this point. Obviously, we're getting ready to bid it, and we're running through the bid process with our pre-construction. So,
Okay, so 35 million, and you don't have an exact square footage amount. That's okay though, because prices of steel and everything goes up and down. So,
yeah.
the second question, Mr. Chairman, through you, is CMAR, Construction Management at Risk. When do you suspect, and I won't hold you to this date, when is that going to go out?
It's probably going to go out right after the holiday. So January 3rd is when we're going to bring it to market.
Okay, and lastly, Mr. Chairman, through you, with respect to the West Las Vegas Library, I was at a meeting and people were commenting that they wished they had seen this beautiful library go up on J Street, closer to the inner west side. Just for the public, it's not for anybody's comment, is that we tried. I know John was there, Director Ron and Zine were there. We walked a lot of properties, but land is at a premium, and this is the only place we could assemble the sufficient land to build that large size library. So having said that, we hope that the public will enjoy it, benefit from it, and get great use. We did try to get it to the inner circle, but there wasn't enough land out there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, trustee Ortiz. Are there any other questions? Trustee Sanchez?
I don't have.
Um,
Was that?
Felipe gonna say
Go
something?
ahead.
I don't have a question to Mr. Vino, just to say thank you, but I did have a question regarding the library operations report.
Okay. So if there are no other questions for Mr. Vino, go ahead and have a seat. And then Leo, you want to come on up?
Leo Segura, Library Operations Director for the record.
Trustee Sanchez.
Hello, Mr. Goodsegaro. I was wondering if you could just walk me through the detention center library services information. I know it's on page 30, 31, and 32. I'm not completely familiar with the program, so I was wondering if you could just, I read it, but I would like you to explain certain things to me and just kind of give me an overview, because clearly this is something that has just started, it looks like.
Well, we're back with them. We used to run the detention center for the county since the 70s or whatever. So, but a few years back, they went with the law library instead of us, and we just recontracted with them last year.
Okay.
So we signed a new contract with them last November. So this has been our first almost full year with them. Our contracts do run July 1st through June 30th with our fiscal year. So it was included with our fiscal year report. But just to get kind of a first year look at it, we did look through October 15th. So we do have 3 staff over there. They are all full-time. Christy Gibson is our detention or correctional library manager over there. And she has 2 librarians that assist with the program. We run the Clark County Detention Center downtown, as well as their North Valley complex, which houses the little minor offenders over there, are less violent. And we also continued to run the City of Las Vegas jail misdemeanor library for Metro at a separate facility. So that one's run with a part-time staff. These numbers are just for the new contract, which is with Clark County specifically, which is the detention center in North Valley complex. So total bed size, you can see the North Valley complex, North Tower and South Tower on the next slide. Oh, I have it here. So that's our current population, inmate population based on October 15th numbers, next to the total number of possible beds that the detention center houses. So based on that, they're at almost a 68% capacity. But for the inmates, it's approximately 2,800 inmates that they work with every day, but we do provide legal research, copies of materials, and then they also provide leisure reading materials. So the inmates make their requests through what they call kites. It used to be in the olden days, they wrote it down on paper and they would give it to the guard, and the guard would fly it over to the library, and the library would do the research, staple it together and give it back to the guard, and then it goes flying back to the inmate. So now it's all done through an electronic kiosk. A lot of the paperwork is still in paper, so we still do the photocopies. I know when we first took over, I think we made Floresto buy us 2 copy machines in the first month because we kept burning them out with the number of copies that we were making. We had to get a big industrial size copy machine to handle the number of copies that we do there. But the inmates send their requests to the electronic kiosk. We have 72 hours legally to respond to them. My staff usually gets it done within 24 hours. So low turnaround time. Their leisure reading material, they rotate it every 14 days. So it's a 2-hour checkout period. So they do actually go into the modules where the inmates are. They go escorted with the guard, switch the books out. That usually takes about 4.5 hours a day, just in doing that. And then they do the legal research on top of that. Items that they do keep in there include the legal dictionaries. Going back, it's not going back. Legal dictionaries, legal term dictionaries, thesaurus, Spanish, English dictionaries. Those are always some of the more popular items of request. So you can see on this slide, our first year or two weeks minus a year, we had over 9,000 kites sent to us, processed over 55,000 items printed. So a person can send their print request and we print it, staple it together and send it back over to the guards. 7,400 copies were made. We circulated 94,000 books in that year, which averages out to 158 books per module. And they have 68 modules that they rotate. So then I also included, just so that you know what's being looked at there, the top 10 legal materials that get requested and the top 10 leisure reading that gets requested. The leisure reading actually mirrors a lot of what we see in our public libraries. Urban fiction and Colleen Hoover are, tops everywhere. Harry Potter, Spanish, fantasy, sci-fi. We're not to the point where we're doing specific book requests, but an inmate can request more Westerns or more urban fiction, and we'll get that into their module for them. And then we've built a good rapport with the security staff there as well. The legal materials, legal forms, NRS statutes, case law, motion papers, packets. They help people deal with their daily life while they're in there as well. So that's why you see the divorce and marriage there as top 10. And then civil rights complaints as well. But, they deal with the general life as well as their active cases. So, and I think I also included a letter from one of the inmates to Christy, asking her to thank her staff for providing the leisure reading and caring and, taking care of their needs while they're in there, and to not forget that this is a need that everybody has a right to information. So
I read the comment and I loved that he wrote, "Books are like gold."
Yep.
And I thought that is just so appropriate. So thank you, because I'm new and I read it, but there were some questions that I have and you've answered all of them. So thank you very much. This is a wonderful, wonderful program. And Chair Watt, if you do go and take a tour, I would like to go with you.
Thank you. And we'll work with Leo to identify when the best time to do that is, and I'll send an email to the trustees, and you're all more than welcome to join us and
give you a hint, Taco Tuesdays.
Taco Tuesday.
with an eye toward Tuesday specifically.
Mr.
Thank you
Chairman,
so much.
Mr. Chairman, before Leo steps off,
Trustee Ortiz.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, through you. Leo, thank you. Please tell Director Watson for bringing this, for letting me ask to bring this forward. The jail population is counted in the census count. And so there is a value to the money that comes into Southern Nevada, into that census tract. More importantly, we're dealing with lives that they hit hiccups, bumps, or major bumps, but it's a well needed service, and the numbers are there. I hope we can continue to sustain the budget, and of course, there's a lot of nuances in getting that material in there because they're inmates. 99.9% of them don't have harm, but every so often there might be one in there. But thank you again. This is a great report. Thank you, Mr. Seguro.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ortiz. For folks who know me, I've worked for Hope for Prisoners, and so I've worked with this population. And I know Trustee Ortiz, you and I have discussed that before, and it's just really important, I think, for these folks in order for them to re-enter society, it's important to ensure we're treating them like we do everybody. which is important. Are there any other reports that trustees would like to pull forward? Going once, going twice. Trustee Sanchez.
I was wondering, maybe not, I don't need to pull a report up, but perhaps have a branding and marketing report on, I know they show what they do. And I was reading all the things that they utilize, like Orange Boy and collaborations with Google Ads. But I was wondering if we could get a report on that. That would be helpful, I think, because there are some questions I have, and there's 5 different, reports on it. And I think it would be nice to just have a comprehensive branding, marketing strategy presentation.
Sounds good. We'll forward that to Director Watson, and he can work with the BAM team to put something together, and we'll have it at a future meeting. Are there any others? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and accept the reports, and we'll move on to agenda item number 8, new business. 7, there is no new unfinished business. So agenda item number 8, new business. CFO Cabayas has asked us to pull agenda item number 1 from the consent agenda. So we'll listen to that separately, and we'll listen to it right now. Discussion of possible board action regarding the Finance and Audit Committee's recommendation to accept the audit performed by Hilton Burdick CPAs and advisors for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Mr. Cabayas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you said, we presented the results of the June 30th, 2023 financial statement audit. And I'm glad to report that it was a clean audit, which is our goal. I'm stealing McKay Hall's thunder here. He's a partner with Hinton Burdick. Thank you, McKay, and your director, Crimson Singleton, and the rest of your team. I also have to thank Martha Ford, the district's accounting manager, for all of her hard work working with the auditors to make sure this audit was completed timely. Hinton Burdick is not just auditing the financial statements of the library district, but also its 3 component units, which are nonprofit corporations, including the Las Vegas Library Foundation, the East Las Vegas Quality B, and the Mesquite Quality B. So that's 4 audits total, and it's Hinton Burdick's job, along with my accounting manager, to ensure that they get completed effectively and timely, which they did. Those reports are signed, sealed, and delivered. And I'll invite Mr. Hall to present the results of his audit, and it's a summarized version of what the Finance and Audit Committee heard on Monday.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. Real quick, I believe I told your audit committee this last year, but I spent first 10 years of my career life in IT. And then I decided that I just wasn't a very interesting fellow. So I thought I'd spice up my personality by becoming a CPA. Neither of those industries are really known for their public speaking abilities. So if I seem to hesitate at all, it's just the sheer terror of public speaking. So I am grateful for the opportunity to be here and work with the district. Quick summary, as Mr. Cabayas said, I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick. This is what we do when we perform an audit. When we come in as auditors, our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. Misstatements are considered material if there is a substantial likelihood that individually or in aggregate, they would influence the judgment made by a reasonable user based on the financial statements. So we come in, and through various test work that we perform, we confirm with external parties, we run various analytics, we tie to supporting documentation. And so we test the activity in your accounting system and then follow that through to the financial statements. And we test the financial statements to make sure that they are compliant with the applicable accounting standards. And so that's what we do in the course of the audit. And when we perform the audit, we perform it according to the auditing standards that are generally accepted in the United States of America. And since the district is a local government, we also use the standards applicable to financial audits contained in the governmental auditing standards as issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. We are happy to note that for fiscal year 23, the independent auditor's report, which is on pages 1 through 3 of the bound financial statements, that annual financial report, it's an unmodified or a clean opinion, which is to say that we did not find any material misstatements, and therefore you as a board are able to rely upon that information in your considerations and your judgment. We also take a look at your processes and your procedures to gain an understanding of what they are and to gain an understanding of whether or not they appear to be operating. If we find in those processes and procedures a condition or a set of conditions that make it highly likely that a material misstatement would be processed through the system without being caught, addressed, corrected in the course of operations. That would be a material weakness or a significant deficiency, depending on the likelihood of that being processed through. And so if we look at those processes and it looks like an error could be processed without being caught, we'd issue a finding. We're happy to note that we did not find any such conditions, and there are no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies issued with the financial statement audit this year for the district. There was also a single audit that was performed. Anytime that the district gets 750,000 or more federal funds, then there's a single audit that has to be performed. We go in and we take a look at what the major program is or programs are, and then there are additional compliance auditing processes, steps that are performed for that single audit. We're happy to note that there is an unmodified or a clean opinion on the single audit this year as well. A couple of things to consider as a board, just in total. So in the government-wide financial statements, they're called, it's a full accrual set of financial statements, the first set that you come across in your annual financial report. The first statement is a statement of net position. It's kind of like the balance sheet for the district. And it goes through and talks about what your assets, your liabilities are, and what your net position is, which would be the equity. And that equity is an important number to watch. It gives an indication as to the health of the district over time. It's worth noting that the total net position for the district at the end of fiscal year 23 was 215 million. That was an increase of 19.8 million from the prior year. And that equity, that net position, is broken out between three categories in that statement. There is a net invested in capital assets. That's an important number to watch because that's your infrastructure. That's your buildings, that's your books, that's your stuff that you can't really turn into cash. And so it's fairly non-liquid. And of the total equity, the net position for the district, 158 million of that is tied up in your infrastructure. Another 23 million is restricted, which means that either through laws or grants or some sort of external enforcement, the district has a very limited use that it can put those funds to. If a grant is awarded, you have to use the funds for the purpose of the grant. And so it's restricted to that purpose. And the district had that 23.7 million restricted net position at the end of the year. That leaves an unrestricted net position of 33.6 million, which are the funds that the district has in order to meet its general obligations and requirements, which may sound like a lot right off, but out of that 33.6 million, you've got to take care of all your normal operating costs. For example, utilities, payroll, all those sorts of things. So it's worth noting that this last year, if you look in those government-wide statements, the cost of operation, the district's costs for the year were 75 million. So you've got 33.6 million worth of unrestricted net position. If all money stopped coming in, you might be able to run for about 4 or 5 months before you'd be out of money. And just to kind of put it in context, 33 sounds like a big number, but with the operations, it's the context you have. And I do ramble on. So that's kind of the short. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. We'll pass it over to Mr. Gabas.
Thank you, McKay. If you're a CPA and I am, you'll find that entire presentation absolutely exhilarating. So thanks for that. And you know, the community and comments to belief you bring there. I also wanted to point out that I recommended Hinton Burdick for auditing the district because of his firm's expertise in local government, finance, and nonprofit corporations. And so the results of this audit are really a reflection of all the hard work that our finance team puts in all year long to ensure that we're properly managing and reporting the financials of the library district. And this was discussed at the Finance and Audit Committee meeting, as well as new markets tax credits. Mr. Hall raised the topic of reserves and fund balance. So yeah, I'd like to open up the discussion for any questions that any of the trustees have.
Trustee Sanchez.
Yes, I have a question. I know that we were talking about new market tax credits, and during the last committee meeting earlier this week, it was discussed that the number 40 million was said for constructing the new West Las Vegas Library, and that we potentially had the means, if the board decided to, we could increase that amount and also include whatever the costs are, because we don't know what the actual cost of the library will be for construction yet. But what I heard at that meeting was that there is the potential to raise the amount from $40 million, and we could get additional letters of intent from different banks to help with the new market tax credit, garner more new market tax credit amounts. So my question is there a limit to that? How does that work? And I think I asked you, what would it take for us to do that? How would that work? And then what would the cost savings be? I think right now, it'd be with the new market tax credit, with us using it, it's $10 million that we get back. So I believe, but I could be wrong. But my question is what could we potentially build out to? What would that amount be? Would it be 45 million? And then if so, how much of that would be new market tax credit for the allocation?
The target for new markets funding is approximately $4 to $6 million. And that is based on the total cost of the West Las Vegas Library project. So at $40 million, assuming that's the total construction cost, that would be a net benefit from new markets of about $6 million.
Okay.
And there really is no limit to the amount of funding we would receive from new markets. It's only limited by the amount of CDEs or investors that the district onboards. But as far as the cost of the West Las Vegas Library project, the board has authorized the building of this West Side Library, regardless of the cost of it. I mean, it's limited by cost, but we build reserves with the assumption that we'll need as much as possible to fund construction of a new library. Mr. Vino's current budget is anywhere between $35 to $40 million, as we discussed. But if for some reason cost of construction escalated to higher than that, this is where we like to maximize all sources of funds to build the library. I can say that, we have approximately $40 million or thereabouts earmarked for construction costs of the library, but we're still seeking other opportunities. For example, new markets, other federal appropriations, a capital campaign, which could include naming rights. But I think going back to your original question, Trustee Sanchez, it actually is $6 million, but if we were constructing the building at a cost of $50 million, it'll be about $7.5 million. And even though we have the funds earmarked, we're aggressively pursuing new markets as well as these other resources, because there's no guarantee that any of these three sources I just mentioned will go through. So we're relying on reserves along with any other funds like new markets to offset our costs. And money is fungible. I just want to make one more point about that. So if we have, for example, $40 million in reserve to build the entire library out of pocket, if we were to receive $10 million from new markets funding or another source, that would simply take the place of using our reserves. So
Right.
that $10 million would be allocated to the West Las Vegas project as required by the contribution from a federal source or a donor. That means that $10 million earmarked in reserves are available for other priority. So we could shift that to other capital programs or even return those funds to the general fund, our operating fund, because the capital projects fund actually relies on general fund transfers as its primary source of funding. So without the general fund, there wouldn't be any resources available in the capital projects fund. But it goes two ways. If for some reason the library faced an economic calamity and the general fund required funds, we know that we have a reserve in a capital projects fund that could also be transferred back to the general fund. So that's our budgeting approach. It's a strategic approach to ensure that we can meet capital needs and sustain the district's financial health at the same time.
So the one thing that I did learn during the meeting last time was that we could also include FF&E for new market tax credits. And I think that's something that we should definitely look at.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a good point. That's the reason, again, we're seeking all possible sources of funds to construct a new library. The building itself could cost between $35 to $40 million, and FF&E could amount to about $4 million, closer to $2.5 million. And there's also the cost of library media materials, which we budgeted about $800,000 for. So you can see that the cost can, quickly, stack up, and we're prepared for that. Again, Mr. Vino is controlling the cost of construction itself, but there are always potential unanticipated costs that can arise, which is why our strategic approach is implemented as is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Felipe.
Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Floresto, you're the acting director since the director's not there. I'm still a little bit concerned because I don't want a blank check for this to balloon to 100,000 for us to pay for 100 million for whatever it costs. So that's why I keep pushing to give us exact numbers. What's the square footage cost and so on. And the 35 million does not include, correct me if I'm wrong, Floresto, the property that I negotiated from the city. There's a value on that property. This is strictly construction cost, correct?
The number you cited is correct, Trustee Ortiz. The property you mentioned, the current West Las Vegas Library, is going to yield proceeds of about $3 million. Is that what you're referring to? Because those are other sources of funds.
The ground where this property is going to be built at, if we had to buy it, what would have it cost to buy that land? And you add that to the cost of 35 million.
There is a value to that land. Director Vino can correct me if I'm wrong, but
The appraisal got $1 million, if I remember, but we paid $1 for $10.
the appraisal on the land, the site, the current land of the new West Las Vegas project is $2 million. And we paid $10 for it. So that is not an out-of-pocket cost to the district.
No, but if we would have had to pay it, it would have been another $2 million, correct?
Yes,
That's my
that's
point.
correct. And that was the benefit of the sale of the current West Las Vegas Library, which, as I mentioned, yielded approximately $3 million in proceeds that are going to be contributed to the cost of construction for the new library.
And the only fine point, Mr. Chairman, is that I want to thank the city of Las Vegas for allowing us to get that transfer of land and allowing us to stay in the current library until we move into the new library at no cost, I believe. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Vice Chair Rogers. You want to bring it home?
Back to my notes. Yes, I just want to have a concluding comment relative to the audit. I know we got to the new market tax credit and some other topics, but relative to that, I just want to commend the full team across all 4 of the organizations that were part of the scope of the audit. It takes tremendous dedication and commitment, having strong internal control, and then having the discipline to sort of comply within those internal controls. So I just want to commend all involved. It's not easy to have a clean audit. So I just commend all involved in that. That's a tremendous accomplishment. And Chair, if you will indulge me, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Please do.
I motion to accept the 2022-2023 audit report as presented by Hinton Burdick, CPAs and advisors, and to incorporate the opinion letter into the official minutes of the Board of Trustees, November 9th, 2023 meeting.
I second that.
We have a motion, a second by Trustee Sanchez. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 8B1, discussion on possible board action regarding award for early electrical equipment procurement for the new West Las Vegas Library. Mr. Vino.
Good evening, everyone. John Vino, General Services Director. In accordance with the current pre-construction agreement between the Library District and Core Construction, the district directed Core Construction to secure pricing for the early procurement of electrical single line and generator equipment only for the new West Las Vegas Library. This is due to long lead items for electrical equipment. This early procurement of electrical equipment is required to ensure that the installation of equipment allows us to stay in sequence in a manner that allows us to phase the work to meet our pre-construction or preliminary construction schedule. The equipment will be the property of the district and does not in any manner obligate the district to enter into a construction contract with Core Construction. Core Construction procured the following cost proposals. Codale, $323,177. Gray Bar, $349,804. And CESS at $446,332. The most complete, responsive, and responsible proposal was received from Codell in the amount of $323,177. I am requesting a motion to authorize staff to proceed with amendment number 1 to the current pre-construction agreement between the Clark County Library and Core Construction for the procurement of electrical, single line, and generator equipment only for the new West Las Vegas Library in the amount of $323,177, subject to final review and approval by council. Happy to answer any questions. We've talked about this over the past, that the issue that we've been dealing with is just long lead items, and this allows us, when we get to install, electrical equipment next summer, it's sitting and waiting, and we're not waiting 6 months, and then we have to stop. So just part of our, the process was to identify the long lead items on the process. And unfortunately, we had to be so far down the road to understand the electrical requirements of the project before we could size the switch gears. So it's kind of a hurry up and get there. And so we're there. Happy to answer any other questions anybody might have on it.
Thank you, Mr. Vino. Are there any questions for Mr. Vino? Trustee Sanchez.
Just a comment to say thank you very much for doing this, because you can see the difference from the contractors, and it just makes sense what you're recommending. So thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
To make a motion, if possible.
Would you like to do the, traditionally, we've been leaving it up to Vice Chair Rogers, but
Oh, so sorry.
no, if you,
Oh, I can defer to.
Trustee Sanchez, go ahead.
Please do. I'm sorry. I did not know that was
Oh,
the.
no, it's unofficial.
Yeah,
So if
okay.
you want to go ahead.
Just like to make a motion to authorize staff to proceed with amendment number 1 to the current pre-construction agreement between the Clark County Library District and Core West for the procurement of electrical single line and generator equipment only for the new West Las Vegas Library in the amount of $323,177, subject to final review and approval by council.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Vice Chair Rogers. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Vino.
you. Appreciate it.
With that concludes our regular agenda. We have no executive session. Agenda item number 10, announcements. The adult learning program graduation ceremony is Thursday, November 16th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Clark County Library Theater, 1401 East Flamingo Road. Unfortunately, this is the first one that I'm going to miss because I have class tomorrow, next week, so I won't be able to be there, but I hope any trustees who are able to be there. It is a really wonderful program. I know several who are up here have had the opportunity, so if you're able to go, it's a good time. The West Las Vegas Library, as Mr. Vino referenced, the West Las Vegas Library groundbreaking ceremony will be held on December 11th, 2023 at 10 a.m. located at 1861 North MLK Boulevard. I hope everyone who's able to be there will be there as well. So we can celebrate our newest branch. I believe it's the 50th anniversary of the. It's also the 50th. It's the 50th anniversary of a library in West Las Vegas. So it'll be a good time. And then finally, the December board meeting will be held Thursday, December 14th, 2023 at 5 p.m. at the East Las Vegas Library, at 2851 East Bonanza Road. With that, we're agenda item number 11, public comment. Is there any public comments?
No, we do not.
Is there any public comment by people who are here but didn't sign up? Seeing none, we'll move to agenda item number 12, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion from Trustee Benavides, second from Trustee Rogers. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned.